Saturday, Forth Paladins, and welcome back to another episode of Starfleet Command, Orion Pirates Plus Mod. I'm Rear Admiral Tarek with the Dreadnought HMS Exile, as we continue the campaigns against the Lyran Star Empire, and we have been just countering their counterattack left, right, and center, placing pressure on planets, basically shoving them back on all fronts. Even though we don't quite have a connected front, we are just running rampant. So, with that in mind, let's quickly check through the supply and now the shipyard. We are currently saving up for a Monarch-class battleship carrier, which I anticipate to spend something in the order of 10 to 14,000 prestige, so we're probably not going to get it for a while, although it has been suggested that we should do a starbase mission, because they want to place a starbase between those two Lyran planets from the starbase that we recently destroyed, and that's not a terrible idea. That's certainly something that I am kind of taking under advisement. The question is, when is a starbase going to come up? And I don't think there is one currently in the shipyard, so with that in mind, we're going to just keep pressuring the planet here at 4-5, take this first, and then we'll start worrying about preparing for the siege of these two planets up here. So the first mission of the day is going to unfortunately be an asteroid assault, a little bit of a slower scale mission. You basically fly in, you annihilate the enemy defenders, and then you have to spend the next couple of minutes just sieging out the giant asteroid. And unfortunately, we have no friends with us this time, as we don't often have friends on these sorts of missions, so it's going to take quite some time. We're going to do a quick check, make sure we are traveling into the left side of the map, and so if we ever get lost during the middle of the battle, if a mad melee happens and we are confused as to which direction we are going in, we can just bring up this map and check and realize that we need to travel towards the left border. We're going to overload our fusion cannons, and that's about it. Oh yeah, we also need to go over here, set up a forward shield reinforcement, and go to the electronic countermeasure system, try to get myself back into the headspace of playing this game, and not Battletech. So we have a single frigate off in the distance. According to this, it's almost a PF, and it's not particularly big. What type are you? According to the fleet screen, we are looking at a DWPP. Send the probe. He might have a couple of pseudo-frigates that might improve his capabilities somewhat, but it's not going to be all that much. Check on the power screen. Going to start stealing from the shield budget right here. Tells us how much power we have into the forward shield reinforcement, and we just rob it whenever we feel like it. So DWPP, according to the probe, is going to be packing no less than, wow, that's actually quite a few, 2, 4, 6 phaser 2s and 2 phaser 3s. Obsolete is definitely a word. And he also has a single ESG just for that additional bit of firepower. This mission's going to be long enough. Let's just go maximum speed of time. Sap from the shield budget just a little bit more as we travel full power. And the idea here is going to be, we're going to run him over and we're going to annihilate him. Yep, he did have a couple of PFs. Is that 3? That's a pretty decent number of them. 2? Yeah, no, there's at least 3 in there. We're not super concerned by it. Come on, getting close. I think I can kill you with basically one titanic pass. He has turned on his defensive system for ooh, didn't quite get him. I know we knocked out his CSG, that's for gosh darn certain. But the rest of the ship is actually still intact, although without armor, and probably not a whole heck of a lot of power. He did open fire back with his phaser capacitor equipped phaser 2s, so was able to get a little bit of damage in there. And his pseudo-frigates are on the way. They do have disruptors and some phaser 2s, really they're almost as powerful as he is. But I don't think they're going to survive to really do anything beneficial, and one of the reasons why I'm trying to kind of keep him back here behind me is the Gatling phasers. I want them all to strike at the same time. Perfect. Alright, so we know that the actual starbase was somewhere off in that direction. We're going to increase the speed of time and cruise right on over to it. It's not that. That's not the asteroid starbase. And just a quick check on the map itself. Yes, we are traveling in the right direction. And power screen, we're good on power for most things. So steal from the shield budget so we can charge up the Hellbore cannons. I'd love to overload them, but you can't shoot from long range if you overload. When you do that, your range drops down to a distance of 8, and that makes Hellbores a little less useful than you might otherwise imagine. So we are going to unfortunately have to just set up for a siege because, well, 4 phaser 4s is a pretty considerable amount of firepower. It really is. I mean, that is sufficient to push somebody away from you. That's the sort of firepower that you would use if you were looking to protect an installation such as this from anything short of really a heavy cruiser. And even a heavy cruiser, if he doesn't have sufficient long-range weapons, is going to struggle trying to take this asteroid starbase. The people who would have the easiest time would, of course, be the Marak, because they can just bombard you with missiles. And we're going to start our beginning salvo. The first one did hit, so 4 damage so far. We are going to start to slow down so we get some power into the forward shield. We are going to cruise right on into a distance of 15. We know we can maintain a siege at that distance, and from that range of 15, we bump up in terms of accuracy and firepower. So stop. All right, we were able to take all that. The problem is the next accuracy step when trying to utilize Hellbores would be a distance of 8. And that, our forward shields would not be able to handle the phase. Well, they might. We could. I mean, there's nothing that prevents us from trying other than our untimely death. Although, I know theoretically how much damage these weapons are supposed to cause. And once we start getting within a range of 10, damage kind of spikes pretty gosh darn quick. The distance of 14 that we're at right now is actually the inner of the... Well, actually, no, we're at 13.47, so he's actually dealing another range bracket up. Oh, unfortunate. Our forward shields are holding, more or less. So I'm not super concerned with that. Although that is something to say about using battleships, is the fact that if we were to deploy a full-on monarch battleship instead of the battleship carrier, we would have the advantage of being able to have more Hellbores to shell somebody out. And that would be a nice pickup to have. I don't know what the Advanced Bombardment Cruiser has. I know it's pretty decently well endowed with Hellbore cannons, so that might be something we could go into also, but I kind of wanted to do a little bit more of a fighter carrier campaign, and we ended up not doing that. We went very hard into, well, not fighter carriers. So just going to continue to bombard him. Oh, just terrible accuracy on that one. He has gone full attack shift defense. We're going to have to counter. If we want to do this sometime in the next week, we are going to have to counter. So we're just going to go full 4 points of power into the ECM to prevent them from being able to do anything. I assume you're going to chase me. Nope, you're not. You're going to stop. Okay. I'll just hang here, though, at a defense shift of 1. There we go. Our damage spiked from 10 to 30. So, very nice pickup on that one. Unfortunately, he's got a lot of health, and it's going to take a little while. At this point, the game should probably understand this starbase cannot stop me. There's nothing it can do. I have a weapon system that can engage it from beyond its effective range against me. There is... Well, actually, no, potentially. Okay, let's do a quick check. I'm going to bust out my pamphlet again. The Pamphlet of Justice. For those of you who don't know, the original Starfleet Command Empire at War came with both like a super long manual and a pamphlet that had every single firing arc and every single weapon in the game, as well as all the hotkeys on the back. It's an incredibly useful piece of kit. Maybe someday I should like scan it into things and just release it, but I'm not sure what the licensing on that would be. But it would be free. But the Phaser 4 damage table says at a distance of 13, his maximum damage is 6, so he could maximally do 24 damage. So we could actually get a little bit closer than that. Once we hit a range of 10, the damage goes up to 8, which puts him at an effective damage of 32. Which is above what our current defensive shields can handle, but that's maximums. So let's get a little bit closer. Let's start pushing him a little bit, because the average is 5.5. So what I really would like to do is just get within a range of 8, but the problem is the average of that is 8.2, and that's definitely within our capabilities. I'm going to slow down a little bit. We are close. We could get closer. That's always the thing that says, like, you could get even closer, you could pressure him slightly more, and if you did that, you might be able to annihilate him. Also, another thing that's working for us is the electronic countermeasures. Although I think we're through his shield, we are starting to see some pretty serious scrubs. Ooh, yeah, we're not getting any closer than that. That almost cut through the shield. So I was hoping to have a couple of the Phaser 3s down, because at that point I'd launch the fighters without question. Because I think we're mostly through the armor. I think. I have no idea how much armor asteroid bases have. I should actually probably look that up. But until we actually get something really big to fall off this here, we are kinda stuck. And that's the primary irritation with having to fight asteroid base assaults. It's kind of similar to the irritation to having to fight, God, what are they? Fleet repair docks. Fleet repair docks... Oh, we got... Wow, 4 good hits, probe. We knocked out half of his defenses. Yeah, increased speed. We're going to start going in. Shuttles, let's go to attack fighters. Launch them. We're going fully in on this one. We are going to start causing pain. Yes. More damage. More Hellbores. Just all the Hellbores in the world. Thank you. Just completely executed that. Love it. Return. Return. Get back on board. Oh, lovely. Fighters can really do a ton of damage, but they're somewhat fragile. I forgot what I was talking about before, we annihilated the base because it suddenly lost all power. 174. Ugh. But it is down to an Empire defense of 15, so we're going to pop back here, just double check we don't have any damage. Our fighters, we did lose a fighter, so we are going to restock that and go right back into the fray. Planetary assault. We'll take the planetary assault of the asteroid base assault. The planetary assault, at least at the end of the day, could throw you off. Like, it could stop you in your tracks. We're hoping they won't, but it could. We're being escorted today by the life chime. Doesn't even have any sort of prefix, which I thought you were a carrier, weren't you? Yeah, you're CVSR. So this is a heavy carrier, and we're fighting against a DNT. So a dreadnought tender. However, the planet is just PL-12, which means no defensive shields, no heavy weapons, just 8 phaser 3s, and that's it. So we might be able to do a pretty decent amount of damage to this guy. Let's not forget, overload the fusion cannons. They're fusion beams, technically, but I always call them fusion cannons. Or they're fusion beams on MFD. I could have sworn they were called fusion cannons somewhere. No, they're just as fusion beams. It's probably Hellbore cannons and fusion beams, but I like fusion cannons. It sounds more intimidating. Let's make sure we don't forget the rest of the thing. We are, after all, fighting a dreadnought, although I anticipate the fighters are going to absolutely steal his lunch. The Marak fighters, that is. I ain't launching the fighters until we have the perfect exploitation. Power, how much can I steal from my shield budget? Oh, that much? That much? Oh, very much. Thank you. And increase the speed of time. We're just going to troll right on into him because he can't really stop us. Well, he could. I mean, theoretically, there is a version of this battle that ends with him defeating us. It probably would require us being in that ship, but there is a version of the universe where he wins. I'm going to hope it's not this one. So let's reduce speed a little bit, get some power to the forward shield since we are about to clash. And we do need to recall that we do not want to fire our Hellbores right off the bat, because the Hellbores, as has been helpfully pointed out, if all shields being equal, or if there are multiple equal shields, it'll spread the damage across multiple. So you really want to focus down at least one shield before you really commit to something. Oh, are you seriously pulling away to expose all of your power coils? You are! And the Hellbores. Oh, yes. Oh, very much yes. So, 143 damage, not terrible at all, plus the fighters now coming in, plus the fact that the life chime has opened up another side. We're going to start pulling away for safety's sake. I do want to protect myself a little bit, and if he brings on the ESGs, he could cause a lot of damage. He still has enough power in order to mount some tractor beams, although he's not using his ESGs, and that really does surprise me. I'm not going to launch my fighters because I anticipate that would draw an ESG response. Come on, give me an angle where I can get around this shield, because I'd rather shoot into that. I could just completely wipe it out. But that is always an option. Yeah, he's going to turn into it. We didn't quite have the power to do it, but we will pull within speed and range of him. Disruptor almost took him completely out. We are almost in Gatling phaser range. And dropped a mine right on top of himself. And Gatling phaser range. Both of our Gatling phasers doing a little bit of damage here. And... really? Did you think grabbing onto me was a great idea? I got bad news for you, buddy. So we are going to pull away, which is not a terrible thing, because our fusion cannons are on the other side of the ship. Please stop shooting at me. You are causing damage to the side of the ship that I need to engage the enemy from. Okay, a little bit more phaser firepower. And if he does not, he's not getting out of range of this. Oh, that mine is going to stay there. He's dead. He is just dead. I take that completely back. He is most certainly not dead. Wow, impressive. So the Pouncer managing to survive another round by virtue of still having his defensive tractor beams. But the Cascade failure has struck. Okay, we're going to pull out to this direction and head on towards the planet. Now, the great thing about this planet, just being a flat-out PL, it has no defenses, as we mentioned. I will prove it to you, because I think some of you don't quite believe me, and you're like, how could he possibly know that? Well, about 2 years experience playing this game, like, every single day. So, there's that experience. So, yeah, we know exactly what a PL is bringing on. So, 8 phaser 3s, nothing dangerous so long as we stay outside of our range. It does mean that we're not going to be able to use our Gatling phasers, but every other weapon that we have, we can bring to bear. Now, unfortunately, we can't use our fighters because fighters do not understand how to attack planets. There is a very strong aversion logic in a lot of ships. I don't know if it's universal or if it can be tweaked based on ship size, but anything that they could crash into and die, such as asteroids, suns, planets, black holes, they will avoid to such a ridiculous degree as to be nearly useless. So because of that, we can't really use our fighters all that effectively. The Hellborers might do a little bit better job just because the Hellbore cannon is a little bit longer range, but I still think it pushes them outside the range. And you can see he's already gone into his aversion logic, and he won't get any closer to this planet. So we're just going to pull right on up and park, well, just outside of range of his phaser 3s, and we can actually get closer because it has to be within a range of 3. So we're going to get slightly closer to maximize our damage. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I'll stop. Good. 326. And we can fire absolutely everything we've got for not as much damage as I kind of would have figured. Only did 49. Oh, that's because he's using his complete power towards defensive systems. So we will respond and maximize our countermeasure so that we can shut off his jamming. And once we get up to the full power on that one, well, he will have no defenses, and we should be able to deal the maximum amount of damage. And let's see how much our actual salvo can do. 111 is much better. Oh yes, very much better. We need to pay attention to the capture screen. He has 12 Marines remaining, which means 10 more can be defeated. Only 10, however. You can't get them below 2, which is somewhat irritating, because it'd be nice if we could just completely strip the Marine teams off things. It makes several ships, mostly frigates, totally useless in trying to board anybody, which I suppose could be by design. Oh, just a little bit more. Come in a little bit closer. Let the Gatling phasers get involved. I anticipate that they will be able to... I anticipated very wrong. Press the phasers, they did it. Send in the Marines. Okay, we got them. The planet will be ours. So another successful strike on this planet. This will put the Empire defense down to, I believe, 10? So he's not having a particularly good day. Well, the Lyrans in general are not having a particularly good day.
Ship secure.
Alrighty, the planet has been captured for us. The planet of 4X5Y. Now, it won't be fully on our side, I don't think. I think that would be dreaming a bit too far, but it is certainly moving forward. 495 prestige is our reward. Empire defense is down to 10. Oh, it's almost down. I'm gonna pop over here and see if I can't grab something just in the middle of the neutral zone, just for the jokes, just for the fun. Hello, surprised, reversed. A nice, simple mission where we can go in and annihilate everybody. So let's get the engines on rolling. We're not going to overload the fusion cannons because we're going to need rapidity of fire. I don't think there's any ship who can survive more than a single salvo of ours, and if they exist, well, we also have fighters to sort of back that up. There is a light cruiser, a frigate, a light cruiser. So just a single light cruiser and a whole bunch of frigates. I'm reading 4 of them, so nothing too difficult. Maximize speed of time, because we do need to, of course, chug along to get over towards them. We have more power to steal, and so we're going to fill up, not quite that much, because I don't want to screw up my charging rates on my Hellbore cannons, because once they're charged, we have even more power, I think. Oh, do they hold at the same rate? It looks like it. Okay. Maximum power that this ship can possibly make while having all weapons charged is 26, and that's with no defense. We're also going to make sure that when we slow down, we will have some forward defense. Reinforce. So, and as we come through here, we are going to slow down the speed of time so I can sort of figure out what it is we're actually fighting. We've got an LRX0, an LR3F, which we are not within range to actually scan, but we should get a scan on you. F-type plasma torpedoes. Fighters. Go for them. We launch the fighters to try and take a couple of them out. As long as there's no AMDs, I'm perfectly happy to let them just go nuts on people. This guy does not have an AMD. You are just having a bad day, buddy. Oh, 70 damage already. Start to slow down so that we have additional forward shield reinforcement. We're going to go down to a range of absolutely 0 to make sure that we do the absolute most. Yeah. Start to slow down. And you, we don't know what you have, so send a probe. Just in case. I'd like to know. And you do not. Okay, so everybody basically is insanely vulnerable to my fighters.
Roger.
Actually, no. Go on the attack on him.
Roger.
I want you to attack him so that when you come back to me, it'll be less time. Not a hugely less amount of time, but less time. So if they focus on the guy furthest away from me, we should be able to wrap this up before anybody gets to turn on. Phasers are almost ready. We're going to close down to the range of 0 to do the most amount of damage they can. And do I have enough phaser firepower to kill somebody one pass? I do. And that one's dead. And fighters return to me. and then they should be home and fully repaired by the time the mission actually ends. And yeah, as you can see, one of the fighter groups has dropped down to 2 fighters, which is not great, and I'd prefer not to have to rebuy those fighters, because that would be 60 prestige. So the burglar is the last one remaining. How unfortunate for him. He did open fire on those fighters and got a little bit of a hit in. Let's get home, guys. Good, everybody's home. 4 heavy weapons are charged, and phasers are about to be ready. You're about to have what we call a very, very bad day. So this amount of power killed the light cruiser in one pass. Yeah, we didn't even get to use 2 of those Hellbore shots. Kind of feel sorry for him. Not a huge amount, I mean, he was the enemy after all. He was pirates even, which is even worse. Pirates, ugh. No Pirates of the Caribbean here. And 300 prestige. No tile taken, but we're going to pop back home. Quick check on the supplies. We're good, we're good. Alright, lovely. However, that's going to do it for today's episode. I've been Tirek. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to receive a notification every time I release one of these videos, press that little bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you all in the next episode.